So I'm going to share with you just a short routine that you could put into your morning times. Now it does mean that maybe you might have to get up a little bit earlier, but sometimes things that are good for us are that we have to put a little bit of effort in. So what I have done this morning is made myself a cup of tea, which I really love to do. So grab yours, you can put me on pause, go make one, and join me on your mat. So typically, first thing in the morning, as I lie down, I might notice that there's a little bit more friction and I feel a little bit more rounded in my upper back from sleeping. So I will quite often support my head with a folded blanket. And I do notice often after I've done my practice that seems to reduce after the practice. So let's bring ourselves down onto our mat. Support your head if need be. Now you don't have to. You could try it without and see what it feels like. And right now I'm going to start with knees bent. So this will be super more like optimal movement than yoga for this practice, to just wake up the body. So initially I want to just move into my breath. So you can see I've just landed my hands just on the lower part of the ribs, and we're going to take a few deep breaths here. Okay, and then just observe how that felt, just bringing in those few sips of breath. And how grateful we are to be breathing on this beautiful day. All right, so now we're just going to bring our right leg in and extend it, but you don't have to like really extend the knee straight, but just a little bit here. So you can start to move and rotate your leg bone in the pelvis. What I like to do is sort of start at what I like to call my epicenter, so just sort of in the pelvis and abdomen region. And you can never do too many of these leg movements. Improving that leg movement is so good on so many levels. Okay, so let's bring the right leg down and the left leg up, and then we'll start to rotate that one. So as you're doing this, make sure you're not leading with your foot, that you bring your attention to where the leg bone moves into the hip socket, and they're actually just moving the leg bone from the top of the femur as it feeds into the socket of the pelvis. And because you're doing that, your foot moves from one inside and outside. And bring the leg back down. And now from here, we're just going to start to move into butterflies. I'm going to let both legs drop to the side and then back up. And again, we are just bringing the awareness to how the legs are moving in the pelvis. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a leg drop of just the one side. So I'm going to drop my leg, my left leg, right leg, doesn't matter. Extend the leg straight, then bring the leg back in, and then pull the leg back up so that the knee bends again. So it's a drop of the knee to the side, extend the leg straight, pull it back in toward the body, and then bring the leg back up in to foot on the floor. And one more time on that side. And then we'll do the right side. So you might want to just see if your hips shifted a little bit, and if so, you can just press down into your feet. Bring your hips up and back down. And now right leg drops. Extend the leg straight. back in toward the center and pull the leg back. So the knee is bent, feet are in a line. So again, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about where that leg bone is moving in the socket of the pelvis. So I'll bring my feet back to the floor, maybe just 1 or 2 more butterflies just to even it out. And now I am going to actually move the blanket from underneath my head. And from here, I still have the awareness at the pelvis. I'm going to feel down to the bottoms of my feet. I'm going to feel the center of the heel, the ball of the foot, and the base of the baby toe. And from here, I'm going to elevate my hips up and then back down. So my ribs and my shoulder girdle remain on the floor as I bring my hips up. One more. Okay, so now we're just moving into a little bit more complex. Our feet come together. I'm going to bring my arms out, no higher than shoulder height, but somewhere where it feels comfortable. And then I'm going to start to drop my knees over toward the left. Now, I have considered this to be a morning practice, so what I would suggest is not dropping your knees all the way to the floor. So you just very gently drop the knees to the side. So you're getting some movement of your pelvis relative to your ribs. So that's why we want to keep the ribs quiet. So if you were to drop the knees all the way to the floor, your rib cage may come off and your shoulder girdle may come off. So now the next time we go to the right, let's take a deep breath in. Notice what you're aware of. Bring the knees to the center and then over to the left. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and then all the way back to the center. Placing your feet once again at about hip distance apart. And we're going to inhale and lift the hips up again. And back down. So if you think about it as you're lifting your hips up, you're actually getting hip extension. And you might also notice as you lift your hips up that your glutes automatically become responsive to help the motion of the hips go into extension. Great. From here, we're going to grab our strap and grab a sip of tea. Wet my whistle, my grands used to say. All right, so we're just going to take a strap now and hold it just right. You can have your knees bent or straight, doesn't really matter. You're going to have your arms up straight and toward the ceiling. And here you're just going to go in a range that you're just looking to be familiar with. And notice how your arms are moving in the shoulders. So the goal isn't to get your arms all the way overhead. It's just to start to increase and be aware of how my arms are moving in the shoulders. In fact, if my arms go all the way overhead and my ribs start to lift up, then I start to arch my lower back, which could actually be a compensation and create a little bit of pain. So really just play around with what the arms are doing in the shoulder sockets. And remember, this could just be a warm-up to something that you're going to do after, maybe a walk, maybe a weight training session. maybe a day of hiking, or maybe it's winter like it is here and you're going skiing. All right, so from here now we have the arms extended, and we're going to reach toward the ceiling, protracting the shoulder blades and retracting the shoulder blades, bringing them back down. So just do a few of those, and just again, it's a lot of awareness here, just really becoming familiar with how your body part's moving. So notice if there's any sensation that's present on one side but not the other. Come up with your little words that maybe there's some stickiness or whatever it might be. And then we'll roll over to our side. And then we're going to grab some blocks. So I'm going to grab some blocks here. And I'm going to stack them at about that medium height. And we're just going to work a little bit more with this arm movement. So a little bit of movement going back into a child's pose. But really what I'm doing is I'm now moving my shoulder sockets on my arms, because my arms are staying straight and I'm moving my body. So I'm really getting an idea as to how my arms are moving and how they're feeling. All right, and then the next time we go back, you can just settle your sit bones toward the heels. So I've just pulled the blocks a little bit closer toward me. Just allowing my head to dunk in the center there. And feeling the sensation of a stretch. From there, I'm going to stack the blocks up a little bit higher. I'm going to step my left foot forward. And I curl my right toe into the floor and come up into a lunge. And maybe just even move back and forth. So you're starting to feel the sensation and the movement of, again, the leg bone in the pelvis, or your pelvis moving on the leg bone. And finally, Cruz has woken up. There he is. All right. So then if it feels nice, you might want to stay in a lunge for a breath or two. Really sinking down into your feet. Okay, and then we're going to repeat the same with the right leg forward. Okay? So initially, I'm going to curl the left toes into the floor and just do a little bit of movement. Just waking up your leg bones. The other thing that you might notice as you come into the position of the high lunge is that to be soft through the shoulder blades. Great. And now from here, we can use the blocks to assist us to come up to standing, pressing down into the bottoms of our feet, sole of the foot, base of the baby toe, and the center heel. And as you ground down into the feet, just allow there to be energy back up, or bouncing back up into your feet, upward in through your legs. And then we'll gently, gently, gently come all the way up. Great. And then from here, we're going to bring our feet close together, and we're going to breathe the arms up and down. Do it 3 more times. And one more. And because our feet are close together, we're just going to bend the knees and place our hands on the knees,
And we're just going to roll the knees in one direction. Just be aware of sensation. Maybe you might notice that the knees have a little sound to them. Maybe they click. And as long as it's not painful, to try moving a bit smaller, see if you can release that clicking. As long as it's not painful, it's not anything to be too worried about. All right, so now we'll come up to standing. And we're going to take our legs wide, and we're going to take a lateral stretch here. So I'm going to turn my left leg bone in the pelvis. I'm going to extend my legs a little bit wider for this one. I'm going to bend my left leg. And once again, I'm going to land down in through my feet and let the energy come back up through your feet. And then side bend. And then sweep the arm. Maybe the arm comes back. Sweep the arm again, and then take a few breaths. We're going to come all the way back up, and we're going to take the feet angles or the legs to face the front, and then we're going to turn the right leg bone, opposite for you, it looks opposite on the screen, and then we're going to bend that leg. Torso's in the center, and then we start to just side bend. Don't lean forward, you don't need to get the hand to the floor. We're just really just trying to get a little bit of space through the ribs on this side, which is my left side, going to the right. And then deeply breathe into that space. Bring the arm back down and come back up. Turn your leg bone to face front and step yourself back into standing or mountain pose. So let's take the legs a little bit wider. And from here, we're just going to do hip circles. So remember, this is a very gentle, waking up the body sequence. And go the other way. Great. And then we'll bring our feet back into hip distance apart. I'm going to bend the elbows, place my hands just on top of the shoulders, and we'll do a roll of the shoulders. So I'm going to do a backwards rotation first. And then a forward rotation. Great. And then just let your arms come down and just notice how that feels in your shoulders. Okay, we'll take care of our neck when we come to seated. The last thing that I'd like to do as we're standing is just do a roll for your feet. So I'm going to take myself to a wall. I'm going to bring my hands to the wall for support. I'm going to extend my left leg back. Now I'm on top of the toes. And I'm just rolling around on the tops of my toes. This one here is really nice to do if you've just completed a balance pose. Okay, and then we go, as soon as you've got it, we'll go the opposite, right? And now we'll take the right leg back and we'll do the same. And go the other way. So at this point, you could come back to standing. And you could just carry on with your day now. So if that's the amount of time you have, you can stop now and move on with your day. And if you prefer, we can come down and we'll go into just 2 more poses or movements. So we're going to now bring our hands to the sternum. So I'm going to bring my hands into prayer pose. And just as I breathe, I don't want to not breathe, I'm going to just rotate to one side and then to the other side. Now remember, there is no goal to be able to go deeper. It's really about what's happening for you. Excuse me. Excuse me. And then maybe one time you're to the right side or the left side. You maybe want to stay in your rotation and take a breath. And then go to the other side and take a breath. And then back to the center. Take your hands to the knees and take a breath in and out. And then just to take care of your neck, we'll just bring our gaze toward the right. And I'd like you to consider just going in a range where you're not meeting pain or a stretch or anything like that. You are going where it feels most comfortable. Because in optimal movement, we call optimal, because it's optimal in your body. So you're not increasing pain. You're aware that there is some sensation, and you work outside of that sensation. Going to pain never relieved pain. But going in a range that is before the pain, which is your whisper in the body, that means that you can actually soften the tissue, and then the mobility or the range will likely increase in the smaller range. So from here now, you could take yourself back down into lion. Notice how you feel. You could just stay here now and maybe close your eyes and do a seated meditation for a few minutes, whatever your choice. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next clip. Thank you.